Cool Figure TV. Revolutionary salute. Revolutionary salute. Like, share, subscribe. Welcome to the House of Revolution. You know I'm your humble host, the Y'all Mean Revolution, and we got a P. Diddy update. We got the P. Diddy update, but before we get into that, be sure to wipe your feet. That means hit the like button. Like, share, subscribe, support the platform, y'all. Well, I think we should get into the P. Diddy update and see what's going on with this pervert and the hip-hop boule. Since I got plenty of time today to run multiple lives for y'all, let's get right into it. I see they bringing back up the Biggie Smalls murder. Oh, my goodness. They're not going to give this nigga a break.
Someone who had essentially been at Sean Combs' side for years now seems to suggest the rapper, business mogul, and now indicted criminal defendant may have had something to do with the killing of Notorious B.I.G.
We all been knew this.
We're going to break down this claim made in a brand new documentary about Combs, and we're going to discuss it all.
We all been knew this. But when they get to putting this on the record, and that's why Biggie Mama came out after he got this case, and she was supporting Gene Deal in his efforts to go after this hip-hop boule, Shoeshana, the Greek freak, P. Diddy, because she knew deep down in her heart that he definitely brought Biggie out there to L.A. to get hit.
With renowned criminal defense attorney to the stars, Brian McMonagle. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. One of the greatest unsolved crimes in the last 50 years has been the murder of Notorious B.I.G., Christopher Wallace. Happened back on March 9th, 1997. The rapper was gunned down in a drive-by shooting out in Los Angeles after Vibe magazine's Soul Train Awards party at the Peterson Automotive Museum. And though there have been theories and speculation and rumors, no arrests have ever been made in connection with this killing. But now, an accusation has surfaced that perhaps Sean Diddy Combs, the man we have been focusing upon a lot lately, could have been involved somehow in this shooting. And this insinuation comes from Gene Deal. Now, Gene Deal is Combs' former bodyguard, who has been quite outspoken about Combs recently, especially after Combs has been accused of sexual assault in multiple lawsuits and currently sits in a Brooklyn detention center awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking, racketeering, and prostitution charges. His trial is currently scheduled for May 5th, 2025. But you see, Mr. Deal, who was reportedly Combs' bodyguard from 1991 to 2005, sat down for an interview in a new documentary called Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy that aired on Peacock. And I want to read you what Deal said, because when he was asked about Combs and Biggie, he remarks, "So did he directly have something to do with it? He could have." And he bases that off of his perception that Combs was maybe acting a little weird leading up to the 24-year-old's death. He says on the show, "The week which Biggie was murdered, he was just acting real anxious and trying to get big at this party. And what's crazy was Big was telling people he had to be in London, but Puff was telling people he ain't going to London that whole week." So you fast forward to the day of the party, and Deal says, "I'm sitting up at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and I get a phone call. It's about 9 o'clock. And they say, 'Gene, get ready. We going to the Vibe party.' I was like, 'We going to this party? We don't have no security.'" But according to Deal, he tried to warn Combs that this probably wasn't a good idea. He says, "Yo, Puff, I got some intel, bruh." He said, "What?" I said, "Yo, man, if we go to this party tonight, one of us going to get killed. Somebody going to die, because now we had East Coast, West Coast beef." He said, "Yo, Gene, I don't want to hear that S, so we all jump in the car." Now, this East Coast, West Coast beef was in reference to the infamous rivalry in the hip-hop world that lasted several years in the 90s between West Coast Death Row Records, so we're talking about Suge Knight, Dr. Dre, Tupac Shakur, who, by the way, was tragically killed in 1996 in Las Vegas. Actually, some believe that Biggie was killed as retribution for Tupac's death. And then on the other side, we have the East Coast. We have Bad Boy Entertainment, Bad Boy Records, Combs label with his artist Biggie. And when you think Diddy and Biggie, you're thinking hits like Mo Money, Mo Problems. It's all about the Benjamins, Victory. So Deal explains what happens when they all leave the Vibe party. Quote, "I was in a car with Puff. Big was in his own car. And the next thing you know, you hear pow, 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 pow. The FBI has stated, by the way, that Biggie was in the passenger seat of a Chevy Suburban when a Chevy Impala pulled up at a red light. A shooter just opened fire. Deal says after Biggie was shot 4 times, Deal tried to make sure that Biggie didn't go to sleep but kept talking to keep him alive. And according to Deal, they told him they were taking him to the hospital, to which Deal claims Biggie replied, "Just do it." And Deal says in the documentary, that's the last thing I heard Big say. And they said the hospital was 2 blocks away, and that's the longest 2 blocks I ever seen in my life.
Hey there, everybody. So I want to thank Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this episode of Sidebar. Always love talking about them. Now, here is the incredible thing about Morgan & Morgan.
Now, going back to Combs, Deal says they go to the hospital. Biggie dies, by the way, less than an hour after arriving there. And Deal explains to Combs what's going on with Biggie. So Puff ran out the hospital door and he grabbed my arm. He said, "Gene, we got to pray. We got to pray. We got to pray." And I knocked his hands off of me. I said, "Pray for what?" And then he basically says that Biggie's dead, bro. He just was stunned. He just seemed like he had this look in his eye, like he couldn't believe it, that he was dead. He couldn't believe it. Now, the documentary makes clear that Combs has always denied involvement in the killings of Biggie and Tupac. And in fact, Diddy's legal counsel issued a statement after the airing of this documentary saying Sean Combs unequivocally denies the baseless allegations being circulated in connection with this documentary. So I want to try to make sense of all of this with renowned criminal defense attorney Brian McMonigle of the firm McMonigle, Perry, McHugh, Meshach, and Davis. He has famously represented Bill Cosby, Meek Mill. Brian, so good to see you. You're a friend of the show. I'm so happy to see you. Happy New Year. I think you're probably going to be the last person I say Happy New Year to. I think we're at the point where I can't say it anymore. Isn't that a rule?
Today's the last day.
2 weeks, right? What is it? You can't say it 2 weeks after?
Yeah, I think we might have we might have exceeded the time limit. But Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So you're my last Happy New Year. So what do you make of these claims?
You know, let me be funny or not funny for a minute. No Biggie, no deal. I don't see this. You know, this is a 30-year-old accusation, and it seems to me that it's getting to a point where Diddy's concerned, where it's dangerously getting to piling on in a way that I think might just help him. As I thought about this last night, once I saw the article in the Post and was referenced on the documentary, it seems to me that there are a lot of people now that are jumping on this bandwagon of making what I would say are baseless allegations against this guy. This one in particular just smells to me. Did this guy say any of this stuff over the past 30 years to anybody in law enforcement? Has there ever been any kind of a suggestion that he was involved by law enforcement? It seemed to me that he was in a close relationship with Biggie, and that if anything, he was on the other side of this East Coast, West Coast fight. So the one thing that I would say about it is just bringing this kind of full circle to this upcoming trial. They're going to be looking for things like this, the defense in this trial. They're going to be looking for accusations that are stretched. They're going to looking for moments that they can disprove things. And make no mistake about it, there'll be a few things like that, and hope that that'll give them the kind of strength and ability to diffuse perhaps as many of these allegations as they can where this indictment's concerned.
Do you think the name Notorious B.I.G. is going to come up at his criminal trial at all? I don't think so.
I don't think this is going to have anything to do with his criminal trial.
Right.
But it's got everything to do with jury selection. It's got and it's got everything to do with just where he stands in the eyes of the public and perhaps his jury as he starts a trial.
Because in other words, what you're saying is this documentary, these words, that could taint a future jury.
There's no question about it. I mean, people watch these shows. I mean, some of these shows are great, obviously, and people watch them. And now they come into this trial, not only with the allegations that are made against him in the indictment, but the idea that he might have been a party to a murder. And so it's dangerous for the defense just in terms of jury selection. And this is going to be something that they're going to have to use in jury selection to see if anybody's watched these documentaries, listened to them. And these will be jurors they're going to have to strike, as they try to prepare for this trial.
Can I give you a little bit more background on this to why I think this is an interesting that's coming out here? Because first of all, you mentioned, what did Gene Deal say in the past? Well, Gene Deal apparently said back in 2003 on the Art of Dialogue show, wasn't no drive-by. The car was standing there at the corner. The stories they tell is not truthful. He previously told Vlad TV, and apparently this is backed up by an FBI investigation file that was obtained by The Sun back in 2018, and that it's possible Combs was the intended target. That's radically different than what we're saying now, that Sean Combs was the intended target that night.
Yeah, it's night and day. I mean, that's really my point. I mean, you're reinventing history at some point. Before you know it, we're going to get. I think that if he was old enough, they might.
What he's saying is, somebody had to get hit that night, and Puff knew that to end that shit, and he chose Biggie being the one to get hit. And that's why they was telling nigga run the lights, let Biggie and them get trapped. Let Biggie, this shit is simple mathematics on what really happened. These people don't know what they're talking about.
They might try and put him on the grassy knoll, Jess. I just think at some point in time, someone is going to cry on one of these things, and this might be the time. I mean, here's a situation where he goes from a potential target in a drive-by shooting to now a culprit in the murder. It's troublesome if I'm putting myself in the shoes of his lawyer, because I am worried now that all of this is just this avalanche of publicity, all negative, nothing positive, that you got to deal with in addition to the facts of your case.
Well, I would counter that by saying this. Look, there's no evidence to suggest that Sean Combs was involved in the death of Biggie.
Yeah,
and I would, but, and I'm going to read something in a minute from Rolling Stone article. The argument would be, if at any point,
bullshit. It's such information in circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence. Why you drag that man to LA? That man supposed to be in London, man. Why you forced that man to go to LA, man? Why did you tell Wolf they wasn't bringing 2 tour buses of New York niggas out there to bodyguard y'all? Huh? Why? Why did you tell Gene Deal he couldn't ride on the side of Biggie's car to protect him like the Secret Service? Why? All that's called circumstantial evidence, man.
Time in Sean Combs' life, if he was really going to be investigated for what he did in the past, right now, after being hit with so many lawsuits, after being hit with criminal charges, after having his bail denied, he's locked up, you're seeing more and more people come out. This would be the time that people.
Why did P. Diddy say he don't care if Biggie gotta die, he don't care if Pac gotta die, and he don't care if Suge gotta go to jail? Why did he say that? Huh? Why would he say that? And then that's exactly what happened. Pac got killed, Big got killed, and Suge went to jail.
People would come forward with information about what they know of him in the past. And we know there's no statute of limitations on murder. So the reason people might be looking at this and saying, well, if something, we're going to get answers about Biggie and maybe Combs' role, whatever that might be, alleged role, now would be the time. The reason I say that, let's just keep that in mind, because there was an article that came out by Rolling Stone last year, and it was amid all the drama surrounding Combs. This was before his arrest. And it details how Combs liked Tupac Shakur. He admired his talent. But according to a source who was close to Biggie and other bad boys,
liked him. And my tell that nigga was obsessed with the Gene Deal said that too. Nigga was obsessed with Tupac. He wanted to sleep with any woman Tupac slept with. This nigga was obsessed with Tupac, not Biggie. This was the nigga. Serious fucking business, man.
Bad boy
and we know
artist,
why.
Tupac didn't respect Sean Combs. That both he and Biggie saw Combs as a, quote, corny executive. And when this bond developed between the two artists, former Bad Boy president Kirk Burroughs says Combs became jealous. And reportedly, Biggie was planning to leave Bad Boy before he died. Now, I know a lot of this.
That's more circumstantial evidence. Gene Deal gave up the information on that. Man, that nigga Puff should have paid Gene Deal or whacked him a long time ago. That was stupid. Why you should have paid that man or whacked that man? That man leaked all the information. When this was about royalties, This was about publishing. Puff owned Biggie Publishing. Biggie didn't know the publishing game, like no artist coming in the game knowing shit about publishing. Puff bought his publisher, right? That means your writing points, all that. Puff was getting that shit. Biggie like, oh, nigga, you tricked me, man. I won't buy my shit back. Puff like, hell no, nigga, that shit worth too much. So what did Biggie do? Biggie created Junior Mafia out of thin air. He created that group. He didn't bring Lil C's and Lil Kim on because he liked them and he wanted to help them get out the hood. No, he was creating a group where he can get all of the publishing. He wrote all of their lyrics and didn't tell Puffy. Puffy think that little nigga, Puffy think, oh, Lil C, you going on? Oh, Lil Kim, that sound hard. That's all Biggie pen. But he was going to get all that publishing. Gene Deal told Puff about that shit when him and Biggie had some words and some bullshit. Gene should have never did that. Puff found out about that shit and Puff was hot, nigga, because he supposed to own all that publishing, nigga. That was the beginning of the end, nigga. Then Biggie was talking about leaving, nigga. Hell yeah, Puff was hot, nigga. That Biggie was writing for other groups. And then you nigga talking about linking up with Jay-Z and y'all niggas talking about doing another super group where I'm not going to be getting none of that money off your pen. That all of that shit is circumstantial evidence why he wanted that man out the way.
Is speculation, people trying to read through the lines and trying
He
to see
bought
if
that
something
man pen.
is
He
there.
want all the money.
But again,
right.
you know, again, going back to the idea of if we were to have answers about Combs' alleged involvement in what happened to Biggie, I guess people are saying now would be the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly one way of looking at it. The way that I would look at it would be now would be the time where people would be piling on with false accusations. And I'm really not trying to make the case for Combs. I don't represent him. But I think there's always a danger in stale accusations, particularly in a case like this where it's easy to pile on and easy to say anything you want about the guy.
Even look at the informant CS1 Whack 100 even told niggas, bro, that he told you the West Coast nigga killed Biggie, nigga, but the money come from Harlem, nigga. The nigga said that. They don't lie about everything, nigga. Whack be telling some shit that be real. Money come from Harlem to kill Biggie.
And because everybody's listening for the negative and no one's listening for the positive. So I hear you. I just think that, you know, this is kind of part and parcel with what we've been seeing over the past several months in this case, which is just this avalanche of bad publicity, some legitimate, perhaps, and some completely incredible. And I'd have to put this one on that incredible side.
Yeah, by the way, I mean, there are those who say it's the complete opposite. So, for example, hired LAPD detective Greg Kading alleged that Biggie was actually killed by a gang member and associate of Death Row Records exec Suge Knight. This was, again, revenge for the death of Tupac, who was killed 6 months earlier. Author Randall Sullivan also suggested that Knight was responsible, even claimed that he worked with a bent LAPD officer to carry out the killing, although to be clear about that one, the main source for Sullivan's story apparently had mental health issues and memory issues. But, you know, there's two competing narratives about what might have happened. You mentioned something interesting about jury selection. Do they ask these potential jurors? And by the way, my understanding is based on the current schedule. The jury questionnaire forms are due April 11th.
Amir Muhammad killed Biggie, not Poochie. They don't want, Gene already told y'all that. Muslim guy in the bow tie. They didn't track that shit down. Not no fucking Poochie from Peru nonsense.
What do those forms look like? What are they asked on those jury questionnaire forms to prospective jurors? And once prospective jurors are brought in for a more thorough voir dire process, are they asked everything they know about Sean Combs? Are they asked maybe about East Coast, West Coast, Tupac, Biggie? Are they asked those questions?
Well, the first thing that'll happen is both sides will submit them, and a judge will make a decision as to what the real questionnaire is gonna look like. From the defense side, the more the better. The more areas you can probe in a questionnaire, the better. And so you'll see every question under the sun, particularly as it relates to publications, newspaper articles, documentaries, and the like. Asking jurors perhaps to list everyone they've seen, asking jurors if they've seen this one or that one. Now, whether that submission ever gets to a jury remains to be seen, because at the end of the day, the judge is going to take the government's submission and any objections the government has to what the defense is proposing. And then ultimately they'll bring everybody in. They'll bring a panel of 100, or perhaps in this case, a couple hundred, and they'll have them fill out the questionnaires, whatever they look like And then each side will get time to review those questionnaires, perhaps a day or so to look at them. And then jury selection will begin. And a lot of times what they'll do in these high profile cases, it's been my experience anyway, is they'll they'll have the government and the defense get together and see if they can agree after looking at the questionnaires that there ought to be a pot that they just put what I'll say are going to be excluded jurors in. So they don't even have to bother with them during individual voir dire when they get into the courtroom. But it's really going to be up to this judge how he wants to do it or how she wants to do it. I think we have a male judge still assigned to this case.
Yep.
Yeah. And, my guess is there'll be a very, very lengthy questionnaire that ultimately gets to these jurors. And if I'm the defense counsel in this case, and they've got preeminent counsel in this case, they're going to be asking everything under the sun.
There were allegations in this indictment and also specified in a lot of the lawsuits that Sean Combs is essentially a gangster, right? That he's operating a criminal enterprise, that it involves guns, and there are these beefs that he has with other people. So I'm curious to see if anything like Suge Knight or Tupac or Biggie comes into the course of the trial. I do have a question, and I think it's important for you to clear it up here. There are those who say, well, wait a minute. Guys, listen, they just raided his homes last year. They got a collection of all this evidence. Who knows what they found? How does it work if they found something, investigators found something during their search? So they're searching for evidence of sex trafficking and racketeering. And during the course of their search, they find something else. Would we have known about it by now, right? If they found evidence that maybe really did link them to a murder, wouldn't we know about that right now? Maybe not. You tell me. How does it work with if they find something during the course of the search that maybe they didn't intend to find?
Well, it happens quite often, and it'll result if the evidence is substantial enough and corroborated enough to perhaps a separate indictment. I would think you'd know about it here because there's been a huge exchange of discovery, I'm sure, already and will continue. And unless there is some effort made by the government to seal certain evidence because it's not part of this indictment, and it wouldn't be part of any defense strategy, but it might be the subject of a new grand jury that's going on somewhere. You might not see it. And I'm not saying that happened here, but every now and then they'll go looking for, thefts and all kinds of other crimes, and they'll find something that leads to something much larger. And perhaps it could even be a homicide. I wouldn't expect that here, but
right.
You never know.
You never know. And let me just end on this point. Again, no evidence to connect Sean Combs to the death of Biggie. And I will tell you, in my perspective, I've always just seen them as incredibly close. I remember as a kid when Combs released I'll Be Missing You, that tribute to Biggie after Biggie's death. And by the way, he spoke at his funeral service. And by the way, just talking about the impact that Christopher Wallace, Biggie, left. So his body was driven in a hearse through Brooklyn, and several thousand people, they showed up to mourn and pay their respects.
Remember?
That's how much of an influence he had. You remember that? It was reported by the New York Times that his service was attended by more than 350 people, included Flavor Flav, Mary J. Blige, Queen Latifah, Mayor David Dinkins. Of course, Combs spoke. So, I understand people still want answers to this because he still left such an impactful legacy, and his death at 24 years old is just such a tragedy.
No question about it. And you put it that way, and as I think about it, imagine if you're Sean and you're sitting there in a jail cell facing these enormous allegations against you, and you pick up or you get the opportunity to hear that now somebody somewhere is suggesting you had something to do with a close friend's death. Got to be tough stuff, I got to tell you. For a guy who certainly would seem to me to be innocent of that accusation.
Yep. We will continue to monitor it and see what happens, but it made its way in a big documentary. And by the way, I should tell you just real quick about the documentary and whether any of the producers have any liability here. Let me ask you about this. Do the producers of this documentary put themselves in any hot water? Because Ari Mark, who is the executive producer of the doc, told the New York Post, we were really careful about making sure that we weren't saying necessarily that these things happened or that these things are necessarily true. But do the documentary, the words of Gene Deal, any trouble there?
Well, I wouldn't say for the producers. They're only providing what is being said. But if they take it the next step, they got to walk a careful line there, because the next thing they could be hit with is a defamation action. And I'm guessing that their in-house counsel made sure they walked that line and put as many caveats as they could into it, not suggesting that this was an allegation against Combs. But better be careful, particularly when you're dealing with something like this.
Yep. Brian McMonigal. Criminal charges. Time to break down this. Sean Combs' defense team says they reviewed the tapes. Yes, the alleged sex tapes. And they claim it proves Combs is innocent of his criminal charges.
Now, this is extortion. This is a shakedown. This is P. Diddy letting all of those celebrities know the time is now, man. They won't let me out. Now, if y'all gonna help me or what? You heard what the man said? Sean P. Diddy, the pervert, the Greek freak himself, Mr. Big Hip Hop Boule, they say they've reviewed the freak off tapes. And it proves he's innocent. They got the tapes. They let everybody know, we got the tapes now. We got the tapes. P. Diddy lawyers. And said, we've been looking over the tapes of him in these compromising positions with all those celebrities. And they said, hey, I don't see no forcing of anything on these tapes. Well, this is extortion. P. Diddy tired of playing, man, letting people know, man, we're going to hand these tapes over to the government, man.
Charges. Time to break down this major update with acclaimed criminal defense attorney, Bradford Cohen. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime.
Yeah, that's a dangerous move that he making.
Everybody, this is a Law and Crime legal alert. Did you know that children are being diagnosed with serious conditions like type 2 diabetes, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and the research is potentially linking ultra-processed foods to all of this? Yeah, well, Morgan & Morgan is stepping in to fight to hold these food companies accountable. With decades of experience fighting large corporations, they are ready to stand up for families who deserve justice. So .com/food to learn more. All right, quite the update in the Sean Combs case we got to talk about. More specifically, the Sean Combs criminal case out of New York, charged by federal prosecutors with sex trafficking, prostitution, racketeering crimes. The trial currently scheduled for May 5th, 2025. Now, so much of this case has been in the shadows, right? And that we don't know exactly what the evidence is per se, who the witnesses will be, the identity of the alleged victims, all of the key events, times, locations. We may get more information in the months and the weeks leading up to the trial, but right now, we got something big we got to talk about. So Sean Combs' attorneys have filed a letter, filed it yesterday, we're talking about it today, where they are asking the court to order the government to electronically produce some very key evidence in this case. What? The videos of the freak-offs. Remember what these are? The prosecutors allege that Combs would intimidate, threaten, and lure women into extended sex acts with male sex workers using force, threats, or coercion. The freak-offs that Combs filmed and recorded these freak-offs. Well, the reason the defense wants this electronically produced, the reason they want copies of this, and they need the court to step in, is because under the current protective order that has been put forward in this case regarding how evidence will be viewed and disseminated, the video evidence is available for inspection only. Now, according to the defense, federal prosecutors, they refused to produce that over to them, but Combs' lawyers write, quote, having reviewed these videos, it is now abundantly clear that they confirm Mr. Combs' innocence and that their full exculpatory value cannot be investigated and used unless they are electronically produced. The 9 videos at issue are the so-called freak-off tapes with victim 1 that the government has repeatedly referenced, causing wild speculation in the media. Contrary to what the government has led this court and the public to believe, the so-called freak-offs were private sexual activity between fully consenting adults in a long-term relationship. Like many Americans in the privacy of their own bedrooms, they sometimes filmed their sexual activity. These videos unambiguously show that the person alleged in the indictment to be victim one not only consented, but thoroughly enjoyed herself. And we believe victim one to be Cassandra Ventura, Diddy's ex-girlfriend, who first filed that initial sexual assault lawsuit against him back in 2023. But the filing goes on to state, moreover, contrary to innumerable sensationalistic media reports, the videos do not depict sex parties. There are no secret cameras, no orgies, no other celebrities involved, no underground tunnels, no minors, and not so much as a hint of coercion or violence. Far from the government's lurid descriptions, the videos show adults having consensual sex, plain and simple. At bottom, this case is about whether victim one was or was not a willing participant in her private sex life with Mr. Combs. The videos confirm that she plainly was. Now, before we go any further, I need to bring in renowned criminal defense attorney to the stars, Bradford Cohen, who's represented celebrities like Drake, Lil Wayne, Kodak Black. Okay, so happy to have you here. I got to get your thoughts on the defense's description of these tapes. Now, we haven't seen the tapes, but this is the defense's description and characterization of these tapes. Your thoughts?
I think it's interesting because, from the very beginning of this case, I was saying, I think that the original tape showing the violence against Cassie, I think the original tape was leaked by her team.
Okay, see, they forcing the government. They saying if it's any celebrities doing anything, then indict them. Because we're saying it's not any celebrities on those tapes that the government has. See, P. Diddy his lawyer still got the real tapes. Yeah, that's a fact. And he said, if you can't produce these celebrities, you're not indicting them, then you've been lying.
He is a victim and not a willing participant or a co-defendant. So I've been saying that for a long time. So to hear this, that, okay, we've seen these 9 videotapes, and these 9 videotapes kind of back up what we've been saying the whole time, that it's consensual sex between adults. It's an interesting thing to say, because I think that the videotapes are going to show that Cassie probably was engaging with another individual. The videotapes are probably going to show that it wasn't a hidden camera, maybe that she was making faces or saying something to the camera that confirms that it wasn't a hidden camera or someone's talking on camera. All those different things definitely help his case. Is it a smoking gun, as we say? No, probably not a smoking gun, because she's going to still say, listen, I was still under the control of Sean Combs. He was physically controlling me. He was mentally controlling me. That's going to be where she goes with this whole thing. And that's where that tape of violence comes in, to show that, it might have looked like I was doing these things on video, that I was a willing participant. But in reality, I knew if I was not a willing participant, then something else would have happened to me physically or mentally.
That is exactly what I wanted to ask you about, is about how the prosecution is going to use these tapes. Because the defense in their letter, they describe victim one in these videos as, quote, happy, dominant, completely in control. They write, there is no evidence of any violence, coercion, threats, or manipulation whatsoever. There is no evidence
if the
that
government can produce videos with these celebrities and him trafficking these women to these different people, powerful people, which they probably trying to hide, that's going to hurt their fucking case. If they're just going to produce tapes with him having sex with Cassie and those male prostitutes, that their case going to fall apart, because the people not going to give a damn about that. They're going to say that's swinger activity. That's real talk. They're going to say that is swinger activity between him and his girlfriend. People not going to, they were expecting to see the celebrities and PG, because people expecting blackmail and stuff like that. So the government is in a very tight spot. P. Diddy said, nah, I ain't none of that. So if the government up the ante and say, bitch, we will release something, then that's going to hurt the FBI, because everybody know the FBI is blackmailing these celebrities. They've been doing that shit, even with the Epstein tape. So they playing chicken with one another.
One is incapacitated or under the influence of drugs or excessive alcohol consumption. There is certainly no evidence of sex trafficking. So, Bradford, the government has been very specific in what these freak-offs are and why they are illegal, why it's not just group sex, but what makes it illegal. What are they going to say that these tapes show? I mean, doesn't it have to have some element of violence? Does there have to be drug use? Is it just proving that sex workers are in those tapes? Is that sufficient? You might be right that this is just one piece of their overall case, that it's not a smoking gun. But I feel like there has to be more in the tapes to show evidence of pressure or
better
threats.
be more in those
Otherwise,
tapes.
the
Or else
defense
the
is
case gonna fall
basically,
apart.
the prosecution is basically saying, and correct me if I'm wrong if this doesn't sound right, she may look like a very active, willing participant, but don't believe what she's saying, what she's doing. Maybe that's the case, but you can see where it gets complicated.
Like I said, by no means do I think this is any good for the state if it is the government, if it is exactly what they're saying that it is, if it depicts everything that they're saying, if the defense is right and it depicts these things, by no means is it good for the state, for the government. Is the question really becomes, how are they going to use those tapes? Are they using the tapes? Obviously, she's going to have to testify that she was under physical and mental abuse, and that's why she participated in these things. Whether or not a jury believes that is going to be a very big leap. But do I think that's the only evidence they have? Probably not. If they're really, if the government is the government in the Southern District of New York, I can't imagine this is what they're hanging their hat on if it's what the defense describes. It's like one of those things that when you have a weakness in a case, the government has to decide how they're going to use that. My guess is they're going to use it to show that there were sex workers, that these sex workers were paid. I would imagine that they have the sex workers that are in the video to come in and describe what was going on or what happened before they went on tape, whether or not they had drugs or alcohol or anything else, whether or not Cassie had drugs or alcohol, whether or not there was a discussion between Sean Combs and Cassie before the tape started. So
Right.
I think that the tape is going to be one portion of it, but the testimony of either the sex workers that were in the video and or Cassie is going to kind of tie it together. That's my guess.
By the way, if the tape shows sex workers, is that not just in and of itself transportation to engage in prostitution? The third count that he's facing, it's a federal charge. It's a serious charge. It's not as serious as racketeering or sex trafficking, but if there are sex workers in those tapes and Sean Combs and victim one, presuming it's Cassandra Ventura, are with these sex workers, does that look like a straight up conviction on that charge, or am I wrong?
You're not wrong. The issue becomes whether or not a jury really wants to convict on those things. When you have cases with you have pimps involved and you have living off the funds of prostitution and things of that nature, where there's money being exchanged and it's a large sum of money, where the individual who's making money off of the prostitution, that's kind of like usually where you see federal cases go. You don't see a lot of federal cases where it's a John who hired a prostitute and they're having sex with someone they know or a girlfriend or a boyfriend, whatever it is. It's very unusual.
We got to come on with the real evidence.
Again, it's going to come down to the jury. Is the jury going to buy the fact that these feds are bringing a case? If they can't prove anything else and their case starts falling apart, is the jury going to say, well, he paid $2,000 for this guy to come to Miami and have sex with his girlfriend, and the girlfriend was a willing participant?
Nobody's getting
That's to me, it's a hard sell.
I want to also move on to something else. You talked about the jury. They write in this letter, the premise that freak-offs are inherently dangerous shows that the government seeks to police non-conforming sexual activity, and that it assumes, despite all evidence to the contrary, that a woman's willing participation must have been coerced. And the defense also says that they reviewed photos that victim one allegedly sent to Sean Combs, and they say it appears to reflect, quote, entirely consensual sexual activity. Bradford, how much of this trial is going to be the jury sitting there going through sexually explicit photos and sexually explicit videos and trying to determine whether or not any of this is consensual?
I think it's going to be a large part. I think that
let me just couple it. Or is it the fact that the tapes exist, right? If Sean Combs had been recording this, that in and of itself shows this kind of, nefarious intent, that he was using it as collateral, as blackmail against victim one if she ever came forward. So how much is it going to be them looking?
The government better release hidden cameras. We want to see hidden cameras with NBA. We want to see Jamie Foxx, LeBron, the Hollywood salacious P. Diddy is blackmailing them. That's what they promised us. If they underperform, the case is going to fall apart. I'm telling y'all this right goddamn now. I don't know what's going on, but it better not be him, Cassie. Oh, we don't give a damn about it. I mean, whatever. That's not what they told us. And they better not play themselves thinking they're going to be able to present anything less than what they told the people was coming.
Looking at, to see if this is all consensual and what's going on versus, hey, the fact that this stuff exists.
You said you can't release him because he's such a threat. And he could do extreme amount of violence to all kind of different people. Well, where are who is all the people? What's going on here? Yeah, because they're trying to protect them goddamn celebrities that the FBI is extorting. That's serious business. P. Diddy know that.
That's enough.
See, the problem that they have with the fact that this stuff exists, that's enough. What the defense is saying is that all this stuff was taken from Cassie's phone, Cassie's computer. She had a copy of it. So they're going to have to now say, okay, well, we seized his stuff and it was on his computer. It was on his phone. Defense is saying that he didn't have possession of this stuff, that it was all Cassie's possession. So depending on where the video was found, how it was found, if he had a hard drive with all these videos in it, sure, they can say like, oh, he was hanging this over her head or he tried to blackmail her with this. But again, you can't just have just that in itself. You would need texts or phone calls or emails, something to back that up where he's threatening her saying like, hey, if you do this, I'm going to release these tapes. Which doesn't sound like it makes any sense, because if they had these tapes, think about this. If the defense had these tapes or Sean Combs had these tapes, when the tape came out or when the accusations came out that she was not a willing participant in this sex, you don't think those tapes would have been leaked? Like,
he would have gotten in a lot of trouble if he did that, right?
Well, before the charges were even filed, when she said, when she first hit him with the civil complaint, and in that civil complaint says she was not a willing participant, she was not involved in these things, all these different kind of accusations in that civil complaint, you would at that point say, what are you talking about?
He settled with her the next day. And if you're him, I don't want to release these videos of me, my private sex life. He probably didn't want to.
No, but there's a way you could leak it to make sure her version of events was questioned, right? It's just like I said, just like with the video that was leaked, and I think it was leaked with the blessing of the Southern District of New York, because normally when you're an attorney and you're representing a victim in a crime, you don't just release things or leak them. And I don't know for sure.
You're talking about the CNN video. You're talking about the CNN video where Cassandra Ventura was beaten by Sean Combs.
Correct. And the video is horrible. I mean, no one's going to say that. Horrible. And there's no person on the planet that's going to say, oh, there's a redeeming quality in that video. There's something in that video that helps the defense. There's nothing in that video that helps the defense. It is horrible video. And that was the goal, is to, in my opinion, is to show how horrible the video is, how horrible a guy Sean Combs is. And because he's that horrible, we can then believe the next thing is that he forced her to have sex with these prostitutes.
So you're right. In the letter, they write the recordings also directly refute the allegations that Mr. Combs kept these videos as collateral. And again, that refers to the allegation that Combs was keeping these recordings to protect himself against anybody speaking out. But as lawyers say, these recordings were not on Mr. Combs' devices. They were not seized from his homes. Rather, victim one kept those videos on her own device for years, produced them to the government herself. That's their characterization. I mean, I'm curious, the defense says, hey, after the raids, we found other videos that he had in his possession. But here's what I wanted to ask you about. So there are lines in this letter that are redacted. They're blacked out. Is that for graphic reasons, or is that to protect victim one's privacy, or maybe the privacy of others?
It could go either way. So I don't know if it's just because it's, graphic. Generally, when you're writing these letters to the Southern District, to a judge in the Southern District, you're not blacking things out because of graphic nature. You're usually blacking them out for some sort of privacy right or something that the judge already ruled on. What I think is interesting is this move by the defense, in my opinion, is genius, right? Because there's an order that says, hey, you can't disseminate any of this stuff. You can't leak it to the press. You can't talk about it in the press. So putting it in a motion, putting it in a letter kind of circumvents that by saying, hey, listen, judge, this is a filing. If the government wanted to seal that filing, we sent it over to the government. We gave them a copy of it. We sent it over to you. And if there's some sort of issue with that, then they should have moved to seal it right away or called Chambers to say, hey, let's not post this and let's not have this on the record until we have a discussion of what should be redacted. But they didn't do that.
Let me just clarify that. So the prosecution, in response, just filed a letter, and they're not directly responding to what the videos do or do not show, or whether or not Sean Combs has a right for these videos to be produced to him. And we haven't even gotten to that argument yet. And it seems like they're going to file a response to that at a later date. But the prosecution argued that this defense letter violated the protective order that was being put in place by the court, that under the protective order, no portion of the videos should have been filed on the public docket without being filed under seal, or without the defense first conferring with the government as to the designation. And they say neither occurred. And instead of conferring in advance or redacting all of the content related to the videos, they say that this letter from the defense blatantly violated the protective order because it left unredacted descriptions and characterizations of material that was designated attorney's eyes only. They argue this threatens the privacy of victims. They're asking the court to remove it from the public filing and have it be refiled with redactions. You're saying the prosecution might not have a strong argument there?
No, and the bell has been rung. What are you going to do? You're going to refile it and cross some stuff out? It's already out in the public.
Oh, so
we already know what's in those videos, and
that lets you know what puffy lawyers said about what's on those tapes were true. If the government now is coming out saying, "Hey, they wasn't supposed to be describing that to the people, take that down," he was telling the truth about there being no celebrities or anything like that on those tapes they're presenting. He must have been telling the truth.
It's not like the problem that I have with this, and I always say this,
Nothing but
it's like you're not discussing what's in a video, but at trial you're gonna see the video. There's gonna be people in the pews that are gonna be able to report on what's in the video. So when a court says yes, we have to redact, we can't file certain things, and to me that always means you can't file the actual document, you can't file the actual video. I'm not going to give you a portion of the video where I'm going to attach it to a motion and you have a clickable link. Those things are what I believe the court usually orders. A motion and a order, or a motion and a letter describing what's in a video in our own terms and saying, like, this is why we need the physical video. To me, I don't think they have a very strong leg to stand on with this. I don't think that the judge is going to say that they violated that order, because I think they have a very good argument. I hate when prosecutors, and they do this a lot in the government, they say, "Oh, you can come to our office and review this. You can come to our office and review that." I don't want to come to your office to review it. I want the actual document. I want the actual video on a hard drive or whatever it is, because I want my people to look at it. I want to see if they can enhance things. I want them to examine certain background to it. So whenever they ask that, that's always suspicious to me, and I don't like it, and I don't think the judge should allow it.
I want to just ask your opinion about something else. So in the letter, the defense writes, these recordings corroborate what witnesses have told the government, namely that victim one, and then the rest is blacked out. Although it seems like they're saying that these witnesses and recordings allegedly proved something about victim one that is helpful to Sean Combs, right, Bradford? I mean, witnesses, they're saying witnesses have provided evidence that might hurt victim one's claims?
Listen, the fact of the matter is that the big discussion here is whether or not it was consensual or not. And I'm sure they have sex workers that were like, listen, to me, it didn't look like she was under the influence. It looked like it was consensual. I have no idea. I guarantee you they have witnesses that have said that. Now, do they have witnesses on the other side that say, oh, she might have taken drugs before, or he was bossy, or he made her do this or made her do that? Sure, I'm sure they have witnesses that say that too. So, whenever a defense puts forth something and says it's corroborated by the evidence, obviously they're not going to say what also hurts them. So, I do think that there's going to be witnesses that are going to say it was consensual. They were in a very long-term relationship. I can't imagine that there wouldn't be victims that or alleged victims that would come forward, or alleged prostitutes that would come forward and say, oh, I definitely had sex with her against her will, because that would make them look stupid. I just think this is a very sticky wicket that the prosecution gets themselves involved in when they make all these wild claims during bond hearings and all these things and these promises, and then all of a sudden the case starts to come out and it's not what they promised. And that hurts their case. It hurts their credibility. And I guarantee you there are potential jurors that are watching this.
And if they are, then during the voir dire jury selection process, they should admit that and say, yeah, I watched Law and Crime. I know this case very well. I can't sit on the jury. Now, let me ask you this.
You would hope so.
Yeah, well, look, we like the viewers nonetheless, but that's a separate question. Anyway, let me ask you this. So the defense, going back to the idea of they say we are entitled to copies of these videos. So they say the federal rules of evidence support the production of these videos. And more specifically, they cite Rule 16 of criminal procedure. And there is a provision that says upon a defendant's request, the government must permit the defendant to inspect and to copy data that is within the government's possession, custody, or control, and that is material to preparing the defense. And here they argue that the videos of the freak-offs are material because that's essentially the prosecution's central point in their case, the freak-offs. And they argue that the government hasn't presented enough of a reason to withhold the videos because it's not child pornography, it's not classified information. They said there are other ways to ensure that victim one's privacy rights are secured. But tell me which way you think Judge Arun Subramanian's going to rule on this, Bradford, because on one point you could say, look, and talk to me about whether these are Brady, they have, this is a Brady right, this is a due process right. Talk to me about all that, about the defense's perspective. They have a right to all of this information to prepare for the defense, whereas the prosecution will say, listen, you're dealing with very sensitive material. This is not a lawsuit where a plaintiff has come forward and voluntarily submitted herself for cross-examination. It's our case. We're bringing it. She's a key witness. This is going to be private information about her. Look, we're just now accusing the defense of violating the protective order and sharing details they shouldn't have. They should only have a right to view these material in an inspection format. We'll give them an opportunity to review it, but we shouldn't have to be able to produce copies of it because it's a real danger of that. So talk to me about both sides here.
All right. So a lot to unpack. So
Yeah.
let's start with this. Number one is she brought a civil claim, right? This would have been discoverable in the civil action, but for it being settled, right? So number one is they would have had an entitlement to this just in the civil matter, but we're gonna put a pin in that for a minute. You go fast forward, now their main argument to me is going to be, listen, Judge, you see how they filed this letter? This letter, it went right against your order. They disclosed things they shouldn't have. They shouldn't be trusted at this point, and that's why we can't give them a copy. That's what they're going to try and hang their hat on. My guess is that this letter was a violation of his order, and as such, they shouldn't be entitled to the actual physical copy. If it's me, I'm the judge, I turn over the physical copies of everything, and with a strict order that nothing is to be released, it's for attorney's eyes only, et cetera, et cetera. But the long story short is they have a right, they should have an entitlement to get all the discovery, all the facts, all the video, all the recordings. Like I said before, I always file motions whenever they say, oh, come by our place, you can inspect it. I don't want to come by your place. I don't want to inspect it. These are not my pals. These are not my friends where I'm coming over to watch, a football game. I want my discovery. I want it in my office. I want my experts to review it. I want them to see if there's any issue with backgrounds, if there's any issues in the video, if there's different things that I can't see with my naked eye that my experts might be able to enhance. So all those things can't take place if I just go to their office with my expert and inspect it on and not only that, when you go to a state attorney's or a governmental office to inspect, I never trust them not to overhear what I'm saying, what I'm looking at. What if I'm reversing it? I'm playing a certain part of the tape. I want to see, number 4. I want to see number 5. They usually know what I'm trying to look at, and then they could try and figure out what my defense is. To me, it's one of those things that is just natural that they should turn over everything to the defense. Now, put on top of that a layer of Brady, where the defense is saying, and for your audience, Brady information is information that helps the defense that the government or the state would have to turn over. And it is material, and it goes to the heart of the defense. And that's what they're saying this is. They're saying it is Brady material. So why should I go and have to go to their office to inspect the video that I consider Brady. It just doesn't make any sense. My opinion is, prior to this letter, I would say this is a no-brainer. The judge, says, hey, listen, turn it over. It's for attorney's eyes only. This letter adds a little bit of a speed bump, because the judge might find that, hey, listen, you guys didn't cross the line, but you came very close to the line. And that worries me about turning these videos over. But what I've seen from this judge is that he's extremely fair. He thinks about things. He reads the law. He's knowledgeable about the law. And my opinion is he's going to turn these over. The government's going to be required to turn over all the video, all the audio, and he's going to say attorney's eyes only.
All right, well, we shall see. This is a very big development, like I said, in this case. Bradford Cohen, you're the best. Thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate you taking the time to break down every aspect of this. And like I said, I have
some big Diddy news this morning, as 2 documentaries are competing to reveal damning evidence against the disgraced mogul, including the fact that his mother did what? Also, we got some big important trial news you're not going to miss. Welcome to Popcorn Planet's Diddygate coverage. I am Andy Signor, and we do have some Diddy updates for you. It's been a minute. But I want to talk about the most important thing, which is this enterprise letter that we previously talked about, the letter that the prosecution must, the government, Homeland Security, feds, they must provide to give Diddy his opportunity to finish, prepping his case. But will also be the first time we get to actually see who else is going to be mentioned in the alleged racketeering charges, etc. They had pushed for the date to be later in March, but the judge has now replied and said, no, it needs to be ready on February 1st is the date for the enterprise letter right there. That's a big important date, because that's the date this information will finally come out. Diddy will get more. Now, it's unclear how fast we'll get that letter or if things will be blacked out of the letter, but this will be the first time that we'll get some actual real new information from the government about what they're going to be doing against Diddy. Because again, don't forget, the trial is on May 5th. Diddy does get to have some time to prep once the government has given everything, and they've taken their sweet time and given it as late as they're allowed to legally. But that will give him February, April, March, right? February to April to March, February to March, March to April, April to May. He'll have 3 months. Thank you. I know it's a little early still. He'll have 3 months to prepare the case, which again, not a lot of time, but speedy trials, they're all going to be trying to race to get this across the mark. Now, speaking of racing to get things out there are now two documentaries that are being faced. The Fall of Diddy, a documentary event, a 4-parter on the ID network, but also streaming on Max. And then we also have the Peacock original, Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy, coming out January 14th. So they're going to be out first. This one's going to be out on the 27th. So 2 competing Diddy documentaries. We were looking at trying to do one of our own, but clearly everyone and their mother is trying to make a Diddy documentary. I want to just make something that's going to be repetitive like everybody else, but we do have some interesting revelations coming from these documentaries. Now, speaking about this first one, Investigative Discovery, True Crime Network, behind Quiet on the Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV, they are now teasing The Fall of Diddy, a 4-parter that will dig into the life of Sean Diddy Combs as he sits in jail. It's set to air over 2 nights, January 27th and 28th, promising to probe allegations of SA and all that. From Rodney, Little Rod Jones will be in it, former producer of Combs. Thaya Graves, a woman who alleged Diddy AR'd her in 2001 before threatening her in silence, and former Vibe magazine editor-in-chief Daniel Smith, who talks about the behavior towards her. Also interviews on the ID and Max series from a former personal driver, a one-time chef, an early publicist, and makeup artist Malaya Morales, who says she witnessed Combs do things to Cassie. It'll also apparently reveal his 2024 mugshot. I'm unclear how a TV documentary is going to be the first one that gets it. That's kind of strange. It'll also feature
Revolutionary salute to our queen, Sandy G. for the donation to the war chest. Revolutionary way of life. Absolutely appreciate the love, Queen. Salute to you.
Our own Natanya Griffin, victim of the infamous 1999 New York nightclub. As we know, Natanya is going to be on there. The dopest nerd. Nice to see her getting her story out there. So that one's coming. That one's interesting. Apparently, the fall of Diddy. Now I'm mixing. Yeah, the fall of Diddy will also feature D Woods from Danity Kane.
Fall of
Other members have spoken out from Danity Kane, but this will be the first time we'll hear from D Woods. This is separate from the NBC Peacock documentary. There's a separate one, as I just showed you, Diddy Making of a Bad Boy. Now, in this one, in the Diddy of the Making of the Bad Boy, that's where we've learned from a source, from a friend, that Diddy's mom, Janice, would often throw wild parties at the future mogul's home, where it wasn't common to walk into a room where adults were having relations. One of Combs' longtime child friends says in the documentary. Now, this is hip-hop producer Tim Dog Patterson. That's what we were privy to. This is what we were fed. As we go in here and look at the details coming in from Tim Dog Patterson, this is what we're fed, is that, you know, adults doing these things in his mother's house. Yeah. Anyway, I've always been asked the question, why? I don't know the answer to why, but I truly believe it all goes back to childhood. Now, Sean Combs and Janice Combs did not respond to comment, but the documentary goes into his childhood and early adolescence, speaking with Mount Vernon friends and early Uptown Records colleagues, Howard University classmates, etc. Combs grew up in Mount Vernon, suburb of fringes of Upper Manhattan. His father, Melvin, was murdered in 1972, a known associate of some substance kingpins in Harlem. Janice kept the details of Melvin's grisly murder from her son, intent on providing him a better childhood, dressed him up to the nines. He looked like a rich kid. But his peers could smell he was not tough. He was badly bullied as a kid. Meanwhile, at home, there was always things going on, adding that Janice would frequently throw parties at the home. On the weekend, Combs partied in the house, and we did a lot of that. He was around all types of alcohol, reefer smoke, addicts around. Look at that, actual types of people, pimps, etc., pushers. This was just in our own house. People that attend the parties were from Harlem, from the streets. It wouldn't be a thing. It wouldn't be a thing to mistakenly walk into one of the bedrooms and, you know, there's a couple in there not wearing any clothes. DJ Lee Davis, also a Mount Vernon native who was close to Combs and spun for Mary J., noted that while he never attended Janice's parties, he had heard rumors about what had occurred at those parties where everyone was welcome. Janice had cool little chicks that would come around, and she made sure everybody was comfortable, Davis explained, laughing. He previously, now Combs has admitted to this in a way of saying that he used to watch softcore films and lose his V card at 12, and he would replicate the moves he was watching in some of these films. I was acting just like the adult stars act. I was, you know, I don't know how to say that. It was doing things, okay? He told Vibe magazine in 1999, I didn't do it on my own. She wanted me to smack that, the butt. I flipped her over because I saw it in the movie, and then she told me to do it again. Documentary includes interviews with Albie Shore as well, who opens up for the first time about his acrimonious decades-old relationship with Combs after the executive aggressively pursued model Kim Porter. So that'll be very interesting to see Albie Shore speaking up. As also speaking out for the first time, the band star Sarah Rivers, who details an unsettling experience with Combs while filming the MTV reality show Making the Band. I haven't said anything in so long, she said through tears. So two big documentaries that are planning to reveal a lot of new details about the mogul, disgraced mogul. And so this will be very interesting to see how these perform, if people are still following this case. Are you guys still following this case? Or are we all just waiting for the trial dates? Now, as for the trial dates, here they are. This is when things will happen. This is what matters the most as we get ready for that upcoming trial. And you can see them all there as the judges now set it in. So it's happening. It's still moving as planned. It'll be interesting to see if anybody tries to stall this or come up with a reason not to. But if all goes the way it's moving, we will still see this trial happening on May 5th. So make sure, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe, because you know we're going to figure out Justin Bieber going to war with Usher? Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signor. We've talked about Justin Bieber's connections to Diddy. Many implications and theories have come out of it, including ones with Usher as well. Well, Justin Bieber has now caused much concern because he has abruptly unfollowed Usher, along with 5 other longtime friends and associates, all on Instagram. Now, I went and just vouched for this myself. I wanted to see it. We're on Justin Bieber's page, Usher. He's not there. He's not there. Now, if we go over to Usher's page and we search for Justin, Justin is still there. You can see the amount of followers, and it's not like he's just unfollowed everybody. He's still following a decent amount of people. Now, a lot of celebrities these days just stopped unfollowing anybody, so there could be no speculation. But Bieber's still following a lot of people, including, interestingly enough, if you go look, he is still following one guy in particular, and that's Diddy. Diddy is still being followed. So it's interesting that he would unfollow Usher, but not Diddy. Let's look at the other people he is unfollowing. Let's look at what this all means. Even before I go there, I guess let's reiterate, in case you forgot or didn't know about our previous reports, Usher admitted he would never let his children stay with Diddy. His awkward interview about his teenage years at the Puffy Flavor Camp resurfaces. This was an interview he did with Howard Stern back in the day that we played, talking about how it was pretty wild, it was crazy. There were curious things taking place I didn't know when Usher was 14 at the time. Now Usher has his own kids, and when Howard asked him, would you ever send his children to Puffy's Flavor Camp, without hesitation, hell no, is what he said. So why did Usher connect Justin Bieber to Diddy if he knew what Diddy was all about? It's the one question a lot of us have had for a long period of time. And we've wondered, what does Usher actually know about Diddy? Was he involved in any of the tapes or freak-offs, etc.? There's been a lot of fingers being pointed at Usher. And this isn't the first snub by Justin Bieber either. Justin did not perform at the Supertime halftime show, which many people were surprised by. He was in attendance, sort of waved, but he wasn't involved. Now, look, a lot of people trying to making fun of Justin. I'm 100% team Justin this. He was a kid at the time. He was raised in Hollywood, the music industry, when he was just a kid. And you go back and watch some of the footage of people taking advantage of Bieber, and it is depressing. It's depressing what this man has had to go through. And the fact that he's now gotten through it, has his own son now, seems to be getting more into religion and sobriety and helping himself. Like, I'm impressed, and I'm supporting him on this journey. And I have a lot of questions still for Usher, Diddy, and the like. Why were they doing this to him? Now, again, they have a big history. This isn't just some random person you just unfollow. For Bieber to make this statement, he knows people are following his account. He knows people have been tracking and keeping track of everybody that he follows. So to suddenly have Usher now gone, no longer being followed, it's something that people will spot. He's also unfollowed and possibly blocked Scooter Braun. Now, to be fair, Scooter's no longer on Instagram, so that one's less surprising to me. But that's another one. Allison Kay, his former manager from SB Projects, has also been unfollowed. A fourth close connection of Justin's, he recently unfollowed, is Kenny Hamilton, his former bodyguard from 2009 to 10, and Ryan Good, who was the singer's former swag coach, who had been around since 2009 and was his best man at his wedding, has also been unfollowed. So it's a lot of sort of close personal friends, along with Pooh Bear, songwriter, producer he worked with on Journals, Purpose, and Changes. Reacting to news of unfollowing him on Reddit, I think celebrities who don't follow anybody have the right idea, because then there's no speculation. But another person added, he's unfollowing a lot of people that I have questions about. You go, Justin, you heal. This is really interesting. So the third, I wonder what's going on, what's going to be revealed, what's going on. Maybe he wants to distance himself from people in his past who treated him poorly. Yeah, that's what a lot of speculation is saying, including, could these people be connected to Diddy? Could these people be announced in the upcoming letters coming from the government as Diddy's case is getting closer and closer? We will know at the beginning of February who else is going to be mentioned and brought into the Diddy case and the racketeering charges. So does Bieber know something we don't know? Has he been sort of just staying quiet until the feds come forward? We will learn that soon. And another report, though, we do know, yeah, look, he still needs to keep getting money. He's planning for a 2025 music comeback and after becoming a father, potentially a tour as well. We know he's dealt with some health issues, but apparently he's got a lot of plans for this next leg of his career. He did sort of part ways with Scooter Braun, whom a lot of people have issues with, justifiably so. The dude doesn't seem like the most genuine guy, but he's been there since the beginning. And so it's interesting to see Bieber quietly attempt to, address this, is what I think this is, because I don't think he wants to publicly address this. This dude could have been through some immense trauma, but to make such a call of unfollowing certain people like this, just as he's prepping his comeback, I don't know about you, I find it incredibly telling. Now, he also parted ways with his business manager, Lou Taylor, who we know, Pooh Taylor, as we call her, is a horrible person. In my opinion, was part of the conservatorship and keeping Britney sort of crazy and stealing all her money and others, in my opinion. That's my allegation. She's very litigious. But more and more people are finally coming to realize that Lou Taylor is a suspected criminal and that not to be trusted and not a good person. And so he has parted ways with Lou Taylor. Good for him. He's now hired Johnny Depp's financial officer. Now, Johnny Depp faced a lot of financial struggles back in the day, a lot of mismanagement, buying, a lot of things were coming in, didn't look good, but he had a lot of money, but he was spending a lot of money. And so this financial manager is now in charge. And this financial manager helped Johnny Depp get back on his way. So that's important. They parted ways a few weeks ago in May, source says, of Bieber and Taylor. It was mutual and seamless transition. It wasn't a fit anymore, sure. He connected his companies and blah, blah, blah. Here we go. Star's longtime manager, Scooter, he's not. That's not true. This is from last summer. Scooter is now gone as well. But who is the name? I'm trying to, here it is. Edward White, who founded Edward White. And that's the person who sort of helped get Depp back on track. Also worked with Jack Nicholson and others, big people, to help get Justin Bieber's finances. So he's previously gotten his finances sorted out, fires Lou Taylor. He's now gotten rid of Scooter Braun, who's had all this bad blood, literally Taylor Swift and others. And now he's starting to unfollow people. Things are starting to look good. He's upset his business manager squandered a fortune. He's now considering legal action against Lou Taylor. So clearly he needs the funds. He knows some have been taken from him. All of this stuff has been coming to light. And then on top of it, he shared a cryptic message about his faith amid all the legal drama. So here was how can I really believe Jesus is with me? He asked in his story. He then shared the following response. Well, for me, Justin, it's simply his goodness that keeps convincing me. Every time I thought he wouldn't show up for me, he always has. I'm convinced he's the perfect patient presence that guides, directs, and leads me all the days of my life, providing healing, restoring all that the enemy tried to destroy and steal. So look, you see that comment that he's put in his stories, and it's not clearly the dude has his enemies. Clearly people tried to steal from him, used him, etc. And it's encouraging to see him finally now seemingly fighting back. Now, again, full circle back to Usher. What did Usher actually do? Did Usher steal from him? Did Usher open up the keys to hell and let just Bieber stroll all in? Does he blame Usher for it? What do we think about all this? Is this telling to you? Do you think there's more coming? Do you think we'll actually finally get Bieber speaking out at some point about the travesties that he's faced? I sure hope he does when he's comfortable, because I can't imagine terrible stuff didn't go on with this kid. And you got to remember, he was a kid. They knew better. They still threw him in this life, and shame on them if true. What do you guys think of this? Does this surprise you, or do you think this is a nothing burger? I want to hear your thoughts.
Coming for Beyonce, first and foremost, she did address Jay-Z with concerns that did make sense to me, but I don't understand what she's saying about Beyonce. It's just giving confused.
Let's get to it. She capitalized. The reason why she has the most expensive house in this time in this town is because she capitalized on this level of ignorance.
Hey guys, it's Morali, daily and consistent content. Let's get straight into this. I can't really figure out what she's saying, so hopefully you guys can figure out what she's saying in this video.
you can have someone like Beyonce have a $200 million house because of the system, and it's been building. Everyone's spirit's been going into it. Everyone's like, yeah, this is what it is. And then
where she claims that Beyonce bought her $200 million Malibu mansion by feeding into the industry's machine. Now, I'm sure that Beyonce could be feeding into the industry's machine, but so are so many other artists. So to isolate Beyonce in this conversation, I honestly feel to be unfair. It would make more sense if she was isolating Jay-Z, if anyone at best, because Jay-Z is somebody who managed her. So, that would make sense if you focus on Jay-Z, which is what she was doing prior. But now she seems to have shifted gear to Beyonce, and it just doesn't make any sense to me as to how Beyonce is taking her home, because she and her net worth, Beyonce's, has vastly increased by being with Jay-Z, and vice versa. It goes both ways. So I don't understand why she's shifting focus. Just focus on Jay-Z, focus on the guy that managed you and mismanaged you and how you were treated. Then people would be on your side with what you're saying, because it would make more sense to shift to Beyonce and talking about how she has done XYZ. It just does not make sense. It's just giving deranged and confused to me. Surely you would just say artists. Surely you would just say artists in general. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me, but this is what she said as of yesterday. So we have some new legal documents where Sean Diddy Combs, guys, his lawyers have filed a letter about attorney eyes only videos in the case. They say prove the prosecution is actually sexist and that it is consensual. The government's views also depend on the characterization of freak-offs as dirty, disgusting, or unsavory, and therefore must have involved some amount of coercion. The baby oil, the lubricant lasting multiple days, the freak-off supplies, all of this, it's just inherently dangerous is what they're arguing. And it shows that the government seeks to police non-conforming activity, and that it assumes, despite all evidence to the contrary, that a woman's willing participation must have been coerced. This, therefore, is puritanical and sexist. It is a sexist because the government's theory perpetuates stereotypes of female victimhood and lack of agency. The prosecution reflects a paternalistic view that the government is here to protect women who cannot be trusted to make their own choices. These videos depict clearly consensual amongst both adults in a decades-long relationship. Redacted. Basically discounting Cassie's Victim One's claims and saying that, this is an inherent sexist claim to assume that a female is coerced. And, that why is she always coerced? Even if she's in positions of dominatrix, even if she's in position of being dominant with Diddy in the bedroom, why is there an assumption that she is coerced? That in itself is puritanical and inherently sexist. This is what Diddy's lawyers are now arguing in new filings that have been published as of 10 hours ago. So these are the latest filings. So I can see where they're coming from in this argument, considering the fact that Cassie held onto 9 videos, submitted them to the government. Diddy's lawyers finally get them through the discovery, analyze them, and say, wait a minute, these videos, Diddy isn't doing anything to Cassie. She's in control. Why are you assuming XYZ? It's just inherently sexist when she was actually enjoying XYZ. But the thing is this, my thing is this, it don't matter how many videos Cassie has collected and submitted that show her in a position of being consensual or the dominant one in the bedroom, because there is a video that exists that we've all seen of Diddy beating the hell out of Cassie and dragging her back in the hotel room. That video is enough to discount and credit all of this puritanical and sexist nonsense and claims that Diddy is trying to claim, and that his lawyers are trying to claim. They are trying so hard to discredit that actual video of Cassie getting beaten up and being the victim in that video. They're trying their best to discredit that. They want to discredit that because if they get that out of the window, Diddy is in a good position to be in. And as of right now, that video is not being discredited, and I don't see why it should be. But it does question as to why Cassie held on to these videos and submitted them to the government, and who else has videos. Because if Cassie has 9 videos and she submitted them to the government, who else has videos? Bieber? Is that why he unfollowed Usher? Is that why he unfollowed Scooter Braun? Did they facilitate stuff? Are they in videos with him? Something like that? I don't know. Because if she has a stash of videos that she submitted, 9, which is a lot to hold on to, guys, from 10 years ago. That's a lot to hold on to. Bieber must have a stash. Maybe even J-Lo has a video too. These alleged victims or stuff like that. Maybe they have videos. Attorney eyes only videos in the case is what, Sean Combs' lawyers have filed a letter about. And they are arguing now sexism claims. I do want to know what your thoughts are, guys, when it comes to this conversation. So now, when it comes to this documentary that was aired yesterday, I don't know if you guys have watched it. One of the biggest claims a woman has come forward, who was part of making of the band, said that Diddy actually wanted to eat this person's flesh because he was so angry. When he got angry with one of my band members, he said, "You make me so mad, I want to eat your flesh," said the woman who goes by the pseudonym Sarah Rivers. She also alleged that he threatened another one of the bandmates, saying, "I can get a crackhead and pay them $20 to smack the shit out of you," she alleged he said. Now, Diddy eating flesh is a whole new low. Cannibalism, I didn't think that we would get to this point of the conversation. I honestly wouldn't. But it's even more scary now that he's been accused by Busby and many others of, even in the documentary, of using minors and those underage. And then there's a conversation of him eating flesh. Combining those two is a scary thought to have, but something that I would not be surprised by, unfortunately, in this world. I feel like, there are new depths of depravity that people would go to. And Diddy reminds me of somebody who would do something like that. In the documentary, it also states that Diddy was heavily bullied. Boo-hoo, shall I get the violin out? I really don't give a damn. Everybody was bullied. I was bullied. People, we all get bullied and teased in school, some to different extreme lengths. Cool. But a lot of us do get teased and bullied, and we don't end up becoming monsters, essaying people left, right, and center and beating people up and dragging them back in the hotel room. So his friends coming to protect him when they were in school together, great, happy, let's get the violin out and let's ride into the sunset and happy days. Poor Diddy, let's release him from the jail. This has all happened because he's been bullied from school, etc., etc., etc. I think that in itself was a sympathy narrative that actually should help him. But of course, him and his team have come out to bash the documentary, as I would honestly expect. I give a damn that you were bullied. Please don't piss me off today. Don't piss me off. And somebody else in the documentary said, "Oh, now's my time to speak." That there definitely for sure was underage people in those rooms with Diddy. Speaking now, but you weren't speaking before. I don't give a damn how powerful somebody is. And maybe this is my controversial opinion that you guys could disagree with me, but I don't give a damn how powerful somebody is. If I know that powerful person, for sure, 110% by fact, I know that powerful person is using minors, I would do everything in my power to stop that, or publicly do an interview, or publicly say, to try and do something. I wouldn't then come to do a documentary 15 years down the line saying, yeah, I knew X, Y, Z. I get it. People were scared of him. He had a lot of power. Even to this day, right now in jail, he has a lot of power. I get it. But at the same time, if you for sure know for a fact that somebody that powerful is using minors and you didn't do anything, it's not making sense.
have dropped fire coverage from thousands of policies in the years leading up to this.
I know they were messing with the water, letting reserves go for one reason or another. They've been doing that a while. Is it on purpose? It's an insane thing to think. But one begins to ponder, do they want the state empty? I don't know.
As the Los Angeles wildfires continue to destroy more and more land, people are starting to question what is going on here. Has the government failed us? Or is this a bigger conspiracy among celebrities? How is Diddy involved and what does Mel Gibson have to say? There is a lot to unpack here, so let's get into it. The Los Angeles wildfires have been devastating. Thousands of people have lost their homes, including celebrities. And of course, this has caused a lot of buzz because it's not only tons of people losing their homes and dying in these fires, but there are also notable people who have platforms and they have the power to go and do something. And sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. But today we're going to focus on a bunch of different news involving the fires. I have been devastated by everything. And to be honest, I've actually had a hear that cough? Oh my gosh. Let's bring it back, Sloan. I've had a horrible cough because of all the ash and the smoke in the air. And even the other day, I found myself getting emotional because the community's literally burning down. How did we get to this point? Now, guys, this is not CNN. I hope you guys know better than that. So we're going to just cover a bunch of things that are floating on the internet that caught my eye. One thing I did notice was so many people messaged me because we covered Allie Carter before on the channel, someone who claims to be one of Diddy's victims, and how she somehow kind of predicted this fire coming.
The world is going to crumble when they see this next arrest. In the meantime, there's going to be distractions and fires to hide evidence. Watch for it, ask questions, demand answers. You know who's on those flight logs.
So I did find this article. It reads, on TikTok, the wildfire has been linked to famous rapper Diddy, who was arrested in September for trafficking and racketeering. Following his arrest, many internet users spread wild theories that the famous Hollywood actors, producers, and stars were all involved. Now, as the fires grow, a theory has emerged that the blaze was started and will continue in order to destroy evidence in the Diddy case. You know, I don't know how I feel about this because there are so many innocent people who lost their homes. I don't think Diddy was a part of that. They're talking about destroying the Diddy tunnels, but I mean, essentially the tunnels aren't going to burn if they're below ground, right? I mean, I've seen that the Olympics are going to be here in a couple of years and they have to build a lot of infrastructure for that. So clearing the way could make sense, but at the same time, the areas that were burnt, I don't think align with the map zoning of the Olympics. I don't know. There's so much fake news out here, people. Be careful. Now, this woman, Catherine Fitz, used to work in the Bush administration, and she went onto the Financial Rebellion podcast, and she spoke about the fire, saying, in situations like the LA fires, I look at patterns. I look at the communities involved and how many homeowners were on the Diddy list. Okay. Catherine is, you know, she knows something I don't know.
What I want to see, what I usually look at in situations like this is I look at the patterns of who got wiped out and how. And you know, one of the first questions, I'll be honest, that I'm going to look at when I look at some of the communities involved is how many of the homeowners were on the P. Diddy lists. I've seen dreadful things done in the interest of covering up the ring.
Now, there have been plenty of celebrities involved in these fires. And again, my heart goes out to anyone who's been affected. It is so devastating. I was scared for my life. I've been sick for days and I have it easy compared to the rest of my community. So tons of ways you can go and help and donate. And it's been really magical to see everyone come together. But there is a long list of celebrities who have attended Diddy events, like Leonardo DiCaprio, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Ashton Kutcher, Paris Hilton, Howard Stern, Russell Brand. But Catherine said that she's seen dreadful things, saying this in a quote, I've seen dreadful things done in the interest of covering up inappropriate rings, like involving children, like those really nasty schemes. And this is likely to include whenever you do an operation this big, the operation referring to the LA fires, you stack functions. So there's a lot of stacking functions going on, but it wouldn't surprise me if one of those functions is getting stacked here. So I'm assuming that like what she's alluding to is that there could be plenty of things or reasons why, if this fire was started by someone, or I mean, I believe 95% of wildfires are started by humans, whether on purpose or accident. They're from humans, but yeah, maybe there are several reasons why they want to do this. I don't think it's just for Diddy. I mean, the government's literally going after him right now. It just depends if they're going to stop at him or continue going after everyone else involved. And I'm talking about the powerful people. Here's another theory I want to talk about, and it involves Mel Gibson. He appeared on Fox News Sunday, where he claimed that people were commissioned to start the wildfires. Mel, what do you know that we don't know? I want to hear this for myself.
I know they were messing with the water, letting reserves go for one reason or another. They've been doing that a while. California has a lot of problems that sort of baffle the mind as far as why they do things. And then in the events like this, you sort of look, well, is it on purpose? Which it's an insane thing to think. But one begins to ponder whether or not there is a purpose in mind. What could it be? You know, I don't know. Do they want the state empty? I don't know.
My first question is, when it comes to like tackling the fires, and again, I am not a firefighter. Shout out to the firefighters out there. I love all the cute videos of them like going into the restaurants and getting like applauds and everything like that. But my first thought was like, what about them drones in New Jersey? Can we send them over here and pack them with water and start flying these drones over and make them do something actually productive? Now, everyone is blaming the state of California, and some of that goes down to, you know, budget cuts. That's a big conversation. Many social medias have called out the government for cutting the LA Fire Department budget by millions of dollars. Fox News also criticized city officials for passing a budget that prioritized the homeless population over the city. However, a report by Mother Jones has rebutted the claim of the budget cut. According to the magazine, the budget cut was merely only 2% of the LA Fire Department. Moreover, according to Politico report, the extra funds were set aside because the department was in the process of negotiating a new contract with the city. Seems like a long-winded answer, huh? Mayor Karen Bass has also pushed back against the claims the budget was to blame for the fire spread, saying, if you look back and look at the reductions that have been made, there were no reductions that would have impacted the situation we're dealing with now. But I mean, I don't understand. If you do take money away from a department, it's going to change something. And, one change, I used to work in like organizational psychology. Some people ask me like, what did you used to do when you worked at the Pentagon and things like that? Well, the overarching theme is like organizational psychology, IO psychology. So that's all about like budgets, how to do process management, how to make everything super effective. And if you're going to take money away from any organization, there's going to be maybe some changes there, and it's going to then have later on consequences throughout. Again, I am no firefighter, but like a $15 million budget cut sounds like a lot. Khloe Kardashian is going after the mayor, Karen Bass, over the wildfire disaster, calling her a joke. Now, what really got Khloe upset was when there was an interview by the fire chief. Her name is Kristen. She admitted that the budget cuts to the fire department negatively impacted their response to the event, which is like what Karen Bass is trying to say did not happen. So Khloe is calling her out, saying that she's a hypocrite. So Khloe took to social media, of course, posting an interview clip to her story, writing, "I stand by you, Chief Crowley. You spoke the truth and you had tears in your eyes because I can tell you didn't even want to say it, but that was the truth. Thank you for being honest, and the mayor is a joke." But of course, the Kardashians can't get away with just talking smack on the internet because they have way too much baggage. It was pointed out that Kim and Khloe used 330,000 gallons of excess water in just 1 month after Khloe publicly slammed the mayor. Khloe has been called out after she publicly criticized the mayor. While the Kardashian-Jenner's family's homes are currently believed to be safe from the fires, the stars have been understandably rocked by the horrific event. One viral tweet that was posted in response to Khloe said, instead of Khloe talking BS about the mayor, people should be talking about how she and her sister used all that water, 300,000 gallons of water in just 1 month during a drought. They are the reason the city has no water for common people, but they have the nerve to criticize the mayor. There was an article in 2022 that was released that had a headline that read, "Kardashians among LA's worst water wasters." So the whole family has been called out for this before. Kim was also accused of wasting water at her property at that time. It looks like she actually exceeded her June budget around 232,000 gallons, and she was fined as a result. Which, wait, how do you use that much water? Comment below. How the hell are they going through that much water? Is it showers? They're not drinking that much water, right? I mean, okay, pools, I guess a pool, maybe like sprinklers, fountains. What else could it be? One person writes that Khloe deserves every ounce of backlash she's receiving. She's had nothing to say about other social justice issues until these have directly impacted her and her family. She's ignorant, and I hope she learned her lesson to keep her big lips shut. And I don't know what's going on through the Kardashians' mind, but they thought it'd be a good time to go and promote Kim thought it'd be a good idea to go and launch Kim's campaign during a devastating time where people are trying to go and like recover clothes at donation centers because everything had burned down, and she wants you to go and pay for her expensive stretchy stuff. It just seems like they don't care. It kind of reminds me of like maybe they're just like the mayor, because the mayor is sitting here all glazed face, like smiling. It's like, what are you smiling so much about?
Y'all, LA is burning down, and Kimberly Noel is literally posting telling us to go buy Skims. This is her Instagram stories right now.
Now, I have seen on social media people are talking about the inmates who are fighting the fire. This headline reads, "Prison inmates risking their lives fighting LA wildfires for just $1 an hour." Nearly 400 inmates are among the 14,000 responders working on the fires. Inmates are believed to make up approximately 30% of the state's firefighting force. Now, I did see Kim Kardashian made a story calling out the government, saying that they should be paying them at least $5 because that was a plan that was I guess like put into Congress or some type of a state entity to possibly go into law, but it did not. So they do make $1 an hour. I do think they make like $5 to $10 a day, and then they make $1 an hour on top of it. I'm not entirely sure, but honestly, I have like mixed opinions when it comes to this. I actually want to hear what you think in the comments below, because like I get it, they're risking their lives, and like thank you so much for your service. At the same time, like what criminals are these? Like, are these murderers? Like, did they unalive people? Like, did they like abuse children? I mean, I don't know, because I see people in the comments being like, well, if they like unalived someone, then I don't think they deserve to get like paid anymore. And I'm like, wait, that's kind of true too. So I don't know. I'm really like, I don't have my mind made up on that. So that's why I want to hear what you guys think. I think you guys are like,
Well, I think he is breaking the internet, my friends. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. And maybe what he said is more true than people realize. We're going to actually get into a ton of stuff. In this video, we're talking about, of course, Mel. We're seeing him on recently with Fox News saying something rather curious about, of course, LA fires. And now we also have a new thing that just came out as well today. You're not going to believe it. And it includes also Stallone. We're talking about a new special appointment, special ambassadors to Hollywood. It's my honor to announce Jon Voight, Mel, and Sylvester Stallone as special ambassadors to the great but very troubled place, Hollywood, California. And indeed, I think it is pretty obvious that it's pretty troubled. And recently, Mel had to say this. Check this out.
Messing with the water. Letting reserves go for one reason or another. They've been doing that a while. California has a lot of problems that sort of baffle the mind as far as why they do things. And then in the events like this, you sort of look, oh, is it on purpose? Which it's an insane thing to think.
Yeah, it's indeed. Sounds insane. But is it as insane as it sounds, right? Obviously, he says there, was it on purpose, right? And actually, what's interesting is we're going to get into something rather curious that I discovered today. As I was musing around on the internet, I found something about fog and how it may actually relate to what happened in LA, because they actually had fog about 5 days before this that smelled strange. And actually, you won't believe some of the stuff I discovered. We're going to be getting into that and much more in this video. I found out something pretty crazy. I was just curious, again, like usual. I'm watching this video from James. He's James LaFleur. He's the guy that is Impossible channel. He's been around a long time. He's been around as long as I have. One of the few guys that's been around as long as I have that's still around. And he found something rather curious, okay, about this fog. It's crazy. And it relates to these fires. Believe it or not, maybe. There's a weird connection going on. We'll see it. We'll get into it. I don't know what it means. You'll tell me as we get farther in this video. But we're going to get through a number of things as we get to it. We're going to talk about what's going on with the some of these companies. It's just getting crazy. What's going on all around the world. Japan just had 10,000 bankruptcies last year. 10,000. Bro, are you kidding me? The world is literally, we're talking massive economic crashes going on right now. And I told you we have charts. We have 3 different charts saying we're going to have a massive crash literally in the next month or less. Okay. I'm guessing as soon as 47 gets in, it's going to crash, and then they're going to blame it on him when it clearly isn't his fault. I mean, he's been there like 2 days, and like, oh, it crashed. It's going to be something like that. I just know it. China just pumped a ton of money, historic level money, into their financial system. You remember what we did back in 2020? and how it caused all this inflation we see now? They just did it. This is like they're already got a terrible economy. So it's like game over for their economy because they just did that. Next 3 years, game over for their economy. And that makes you wonder about a number of things. Strange things have been happening of recent. These drones, this, of course, fog. We got the fires. And I'm going to actually tie a little bit of this together, particularly the fog and, of course, the fires, because we have some really strange stuff that's been happening. All right. Let me play this clip first, and it'll kind of give you an understanding of what I'm trying to get at. Okay, check this out. So this is some stuff growing on the ground from after the fog. Let me just play this clip. This is from James LaFleur's channel, JMez.
Is it just me, or does it seem kind of strange?
There's stuff in it.
All right, time for another snow test.
Same exact thing. Y'all tell me what on earth this is supposed to be.
So yesterday and today was really, really foggy. This here.
You see that growing? Okay, I think that's fecal matter from their cat or dog or something. I don't know. There's multiple on the ground, but there's this 3-inch long hairs growing off it from like a day or two. I think it's like a couple days, and that's grown 3 inches. What is that? Right? So this is very bizarre. You saw what that guy had on his pavement. People were mentioning that weird stuff is going on with regards to they would smell sort of like a fireworks smell from it. Again, this was something that happened back on the 23rd through the 30th through into, I think, like early January. It was happening all across the world. And what's really strange is you'll notice, as we'll get into this, that he pulls up some weather maps and he shows that actually fires started sort of, I don't know how to explain it, like in tandem with sort of the fog. It's not conclusive, or it's not really per se. It's more like, what do you call it? Circumstantial, maybe, I guess you would say. It's something like where you could say there's something happening or maybe not, you don't know. But it is so weird that the fog happens, and then after that, then you got these fires. So what is inside this? What is this fog, right? What is it? And that's the question. And I'm going to show you something else, something really ridiculous I found that has to do with these houses. Like some of these houses, you remember, you'll see these huge areas of no houses, right? And you have like one house right in the middle, right? I'm going to show you what might have happened with that. I might have figured that out too. So we're going to get into all that and much more as we get into this video. First of all, I got to mention food supply, 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description. 4 weeks worth for $187. You're going to definitely want to get this. You can see how wonderful things are around you. My friends, you might want to have this just in case. Never know what's next. You have all these stores around us closing. We just had, this link is in the description for that if you haven't already got that, my friends. You just had Joann Fabrics file their second bankruptcy in a year. Chapter 11. You got all these companies going out of business left and right. You had the biggest comics distributor in the world. Yeah, the world. Just filed for bankruptcy. Comics distributor Diamond, world's biggest English language comics distributor, is selling off assets, scaling business back in order to survive. That comic right there might look a little familiar. Filing Chapter 11. And of course, just in one city alone, you have 5 Walgreens closing in Chicago. So you get kind of the idea. You see how the economy is doing terrible. You have here on top of that, the most recent data is out. December, U.S. government total revenue, $454 billion, paid $140 billion in interest just to the national debt. That's 31% of all the money came in, went to the debt. And actually, it's an inflated number. This isn't even accurate. So this $454 billion is not even accurate because it includes Social Security and unemployment insurance money. So if you actually look at the real income coming in, individual income taxes, $211 billion, that's half as much. That means technically, if you go off that alone, you're talking 60% of all the money went to interest payments only on the national debt. That's how bad it's gotten. All right. And I just wanted to throw that in there. the fact is, it shows you just how bad our economy is. You can see all these weird things happening, which I think is more than just some random occurrence, okay? Because the reason why I say that is because usually whenever economies all across the world start failing like this, that's when those, of course, at the top start looking for other ways, alternative ways to stay up there at the top. For example, World War II is a good example of this. Remember, it actually got us out of the Great Depression. So we were in the Great Depression for 10 years, and they got us out of it with World War II. A lot of people don't ever think of it that way, but that's actually what happened. So sometimes they do strange things to, stay where they want to be when everything's else falling apart, right? Anyway, also this book here, The Lost Ways, How Your Great-Great-Grandfather Lived Without Electricity, Out of a Cellar, Do Things Around the House Like the Good Old Days, hundreds of pages illustrated. You're going to want to get that book as well. Get the printed version, $37 plus shipping. And you're going to be able to buy it at Walmart when the power's out. All right, so let's get over to this whole topic. We have TikTok prepares to shut down on Sunday. Well, what's interesting about that is a lot of these videos that have been coming out are on TikTok about the fog. For example, this one right here, Tampa, St. Pete, Florida.
Fog should lighten, dissipate, and it's really not. But the weirdest part is the taste and smell. It smells like after you set off a bunch of fireworks, and like the taste of the air is, I mean, the only word I can think of is toxic.
So it smells like fireworks, is what he said. Interesting. And here's a map. This is again from James LaFleur's channel. And he shows how, let me set it right because I already played it once. Give me a sec here. So he shows here that there was no fire in the area. So why would it smell like fireworks? There's no fire in the area or even around it. So why would there be any smell like fireworks?
Right, let's check out for fires in Tampa Bay. So let's check this region on December 26th for fires. And as you can see here, air quality, CO, and then the dates. Nothing. So he shows that there's nothing on all the dates, that there's no reason for the smell to be in the air. So why is there this smell? Good question. Also, it seems to be happening all across the world. I did a video talking about this before, probably a week or two ago, about how there was like over 30 locations, probably a lot more than 30 actually. There was like 30 different states I know that had people reporting this online. We had also even Manchester. What's going on with Manchester?
For 4 days now, 4 days in a row. Normally, just behind these buildings, I can see for miles out of my window, but I haven't been able to see past these buildings here, barely seeing this main road since the 23rd of December. It's now the 27th. And I know what fog is.
He says he knows what fog is. He goes on and says, and actually it went on longer than that, by the way. This lady here, she's talking about it being on day 5 already.
Gas mask, like what is happening in the UK at the minute with the weather? Because all this fog has been here for about 5 days now, and it is literally not budging. And I have never seen a fog like this, what stayed for longer than 5 days, will not dissipate whatsoever. And I've woke up today with a sore throat. It's obviously the shit that we're breathing in, because I don't feel like this is a normal fog. This is
Yes, indeed. And they also talk about a smell with regards to this fog. Also, you have here another person. Everyone keeps talking about it all over the world. I'm in Boston. I couldn't see the building next to me. It was so foggy yesterday. Also, the air smells weird. Any other people in other states having this fog, right? So you can obviously we talked about this. I showed a massive list of people saying this. And this is the part right here where it started making my brain churn. The wheel in there started moving. I'm like, and my brain started working. You know what I mean? Where James LaFleur is talking about this over here. Check this out.
December 3rd.
we have a few fires going on in the Northern Hemisphere, like Europe and the US, after December 23rd. Look at that.
So we have here, of course, him showing that there's some weird correlation, or at least appears to be some sort of weird correlation between these fog and these fires. Maybe. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell. It's like it's all across the world while this is occurring. And so it made me wonder, is there some sort of connection between the two? So I started looking around a little bit. And so let me show you something here. This is LA on the 30th. As you can see, extremely foggy, right? Now, looking at this stuff, it just don't look right. What is that? I literally, when I saw these videos, I literally went and bought on Amazon a bunch of, masks. I'm talking the real ones, not the ones they were telling us to wear around, but the ones that actually can filter something out, has like a breathing device in it and stuff. You know what I mean? Like a real one that actually is like they use for painting and stuff. Because I was like, I don't want to have that stuff I don't want to be breathing any of that stuff. I don't know what that is. So obviously this is not snow. This is not rain. What is that? What is that? I mean, it looks like you went up in your attic or something in some old house and just beaded everything, and it's just like stuff everywhere. It just looks like dust. Something really not right, you know? And so my theory is, could there be some sort of connection? So we have on the 30th, huge fog in LA. When did the fire start? January 7th. Okay, that's like a week later. I don't know if the fog kept going for a little while. I'm not sure how it was in LA. Did they have fog for a few days there too? I don't know. But it was a few days later, you had these fires. And that was what he showed with this map back here, is that they seem to have some sort of weird correlation. Although it's circumstantial, it's not like real evidence. It's just kind of like, is there something there? We don't know, right? Then I started thinking about this. I'm like, wait a second. Okay, wait a second here. So I was looking around and I saw this video about this guy, and he had a house, and it's in like he's the only house left in the entire area. And I was like, and then I started looking around more. I saw this guy who's apparently what do they call it? A forensic arborist. A forensic arborist is a tree expert who provides expert opinions in legal disputes, insurance claims involving trees. Okay, so look at this. Look at this picture. So you have all these cars stopped here, and they all left because of the fire, right? Then you have all these cars right here, just completely melted. Look at this. You see these lines on the ground? That's melted glass, liquid glass. Just, like water rolling out. That's liquid glass. That doesn't make sense because it takes thousands of degrees to get that hot, right? These trees are fine. These trees are fine. These cars are fine. It's just these cars right here are just literally thousands of degrees, somehow burnt at thousands of degrees and melted the glass onto the ground in a liquid form. What is going on there? He showed all these other weird pictures. He said, this is actually how a forest fire looks. The trees actually burn. And so you would expect there to be at least some trees looking like this, but we don't really see any like that. Then he showed these other weird pictures, and I started really thinking about it. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? So he shows, and I was trying to explain it away at first. So like he shows these nails in this board, and everywhere where the nails were, there was a burn mark. And I was like, okay, well, maybe there was something like paper, I don't know, something hanging on this, right? And then that's why it burnt right there only, right? I was thinking that in my head. Like I was trying to explain it away. And then he showed other pictures. And I'm like, well, this is just a random fence post on somebody's property. And the only burned places are where the metal is. And he showed other pictures too like this. He showed a bunch of them. Let me show you another one. He had a picture of a sign. Where's that one? I don't. Let me open up another window of this. Okay, wait 1 second here. Let's just do it this way. I want to open it right. Let's open it this way. Go here. Okay, so where was it? He showed a picture of a sign like this too. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Look at this. The only place that got burnt is where the bolt is. Why? That doesn't even make sense. So wherever the metal is where it burns. Right? You see how that is? And I was thinking, okay, well, in normal circumstances, that doesn't make any sense. I don't think that would occur in normal circumstances. You wouldn't have all the burn marks where the metal is. That's kind of weird. So I was thinking about this fog. What was in the fog? Like, was there a certain chemical that maybe reacts with metal in certain circumstances when fire's present, where the metal and this chemical and the fire together ignite wood around metal? This is just a theory. I'm not saying it's true. I don't know. Who knows? But then I started looking around more and I'm like, whoa, wait a second. The houses that remained. Let's go look at these things. So I'm looking at these houses. You got this one house in the middle of nowhere, just the only one left. Like, why is this one house okay? All the other ones are gone. What's going on with that? So here's the house. I'm like, okay. So let's look at this house closer. I'm looking at this house and notice, if I can get my mouse on the screen, notice this is not wood. This is concrete. This is concrete. I think this is concrete. I don't know what the side is here because you see, this is wood right here, obviously. I don't know what this is. Is this wood or concrete? I don't know what that is. But what I noticed about the siding, look at the siding. It's wood siding. And it doesn't look like it might not be nailed. It might be glued siding. They actually do in some cases. So lots of people, they'll have like a vinyl siding with nails, right? That's usually what you have. But there's are a few people out there who have wood siding. And of those few people, a few of those people will have no nails. It'll just be glued, right? That looks like it could be just glued. That might be just glued wood siding. And then there's another house that didn't burn down. Let me show you that one. And it looks like it's wood siding without nails. It also may have been just glued. Wood siding without nails looks just like it. You see that? Wood siding without nails. This guy, his entire neighborhood burned down except for his house. Check this out.
Las Flores Drive. This is the corner house on the left side of my house. This is across the street, the corner house, and the two houses in front, and the entire street on my side, is burnt down on my block, except for my house. God bless everybody else.
Arrived.
With plenty of insurance.
See, look at his siding there. I don't see any nails. Is that a glued siding?
To rebuild.
He does have metal on the doorknob, unless there's like, maybe it's because it's painted. Maybe there's an issue there. It's not just out fresh, nails that are usually put in the siding are not painted. So that might be a factor too. This is, I don't know what this is. That looks like a strange metal. I don't know what's going on there.
God knew what he had to do to protect me.
Look, he's got a metal, what is that, a metal container?
I'm an idiot.
The metal container looks like it's melted almost or something. It looks deformed.
I might not have had insurance. I don't know.
That looks so weird. So look at that. That's not siding at all. What is that, cement? Again, just like the other house. Is that cement? What is going on with that siding? That is not normal. I don't know what that is. So he even points out that his logs were burnt And he even shows that in the background behind his house, all the houses are gone. So I'm just curious if there's something going on here where it has something to do with their type of siding they used. If they have like they have concrete and then they have siding without nails, if there's some factor in that that's going on, because both those houses have concrete and wood siding, it looks like without nails, could instead of vinyl, or vinyl obviously is nailed into the wood. And also you have drywall. Drywall is very, very flammable as well. So I'm wondering if it has something to do with how the buildings were built. Is there some factor going on there? You had, of course, the director of LA County Public Works misspeak. I'm assuming this is a misspeak here, where he says, just listen, it's so ridiculous.
Communities back and rebuild them better than they were when we started this fire.
He accidentally said they started it. So I think that was a misspeak there. Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to say that.
What the fuck?
So what's really bizarre is you had also some weird clips. I mean, there's so many weird things. Okay. Check this out. So you had Ben Affleck talking with police in LA during the fires about unauthorized drone activity that interfered with firefighting efforts. So Ben Affleck is reporting that there was drones around his house and that they were trying to investigate this. It's so bizarre. Why are these drones also in the fires? I saw the guy that won the lotto, the biggest lotto ever. He won like $2 billion. He lives in California. He bought 3 huge homes in California. One of the homes he kept posting, I think on TikTok, that he kept seeing drones. And that was the only house of his that burned down. It was the one where he saw drones. So it's so bizarre. And then you had people like Bill Burr come out saying that they did a great job. I feel lucky, and I think everybody did a great job. What are you talking about, dude?
It's very good to see you. I heard you had to evacuate your home.
Yes. Like most people, I had to. I got lucky, the winds moved, but the fire was coming and all that stuff. So I feel lucky.
Are you guys back in?
And I think everybody did a great job.
Yeah.
Unlike the internet,
Yeah.
What? They did a great job. What are you talking about, dude? I don't think they did a great job. They could have easily stopped this from happening the way it did. How about having filled water reservoirs? That might be a good start. Or how about working fire engines? They have numerous fire engines needing repairs. Or stop with these ridiculous checks on all the fire engines coming in from other states and countries like Mexico and Canada, having them getting emission tests before they could even go put out a fire. How about that? But of course, on top of this, you had the Kardashians paying $2,000 an hour to hire professional firemen to make sure their house didn't go under. You had also them canceling insurance, all these things. And it really makes you wonder what all this is. Anyway, I'm kind of
This is Dabu 7. We have an emergency situation unfolding at the Moss Landing in California. There are evacuation orders in effect now as we have this massive battery plant that's on fire. These are lithium batteries, and they are releasing a massive toxic plume of smoke from the facility. This was from overnight. You could see it smoldering here. There's a ton of different hazmat and police on the scene in the region. Here's a shot from another angle. They say that these evacuation orders have been issued to all residents in the vicinity. Everyone is advised to shelter in place immediately due to the hazardous toxins being released into the air. They're urging people here to follow the safety measures of sealing their doors and windows. Use tape and damp towels to cover any gaps to prevent the smoke from coming in the home. turn off all ventilation systems, disable fans, heaters, air conditioners, all this to avoid drawing the outside air into your home. This incident here marks at least the 4th occurrence of battery-related emergencies at this Moss Landing facility, and this is still developing. So a heads up to everyone out there, this is what's going on in Cali, a massive disaster unfolding. Join me on the live streams where I break this down further. Going live Monday, Wednesday. United States on their own. This is Dabu 7, and we have something super suspect going down here in terms of China ordering DJI to drop all of its geofencing with drones. And they're replacing it just with simple FAA data. And they're leaving all flight operators in the United States on their own in terms of knowing where to go and where not to go. If you're not familiar with this, this is like a safety net. This geofence is like a bubble. And if you're within it, you can't even get your drone off the ground. It's happened to me dozens of times all across the country. Outside of those pockets, you can't get up in the air. If you drift into one, they will literally bring your drone down. That's why it's shenanigans with all these other drones you're seeing out there. There's definitely something going on there. But this, just a week before Trump's inauguration, this is basically letting anyone that's got a drone, a DJI drone, fly it into any airspace. Now, what do you think is going to happen? Why would they do this right before inauguration? Again, super suspect here. Because without anything stopping them, they can literally just charge any place, any point with dozens, if not hundreds of drones, and they will get right on through. There's nothing to stop them now. They're putting it on the operator. Now, if nefarious operators get out there with a plan to do something, some staged event, well, here we go. So that you know, from here on out, and just right before inauguration, and right before these big details about the soft disclosure are supposed to be coming out, we have this. So I'll leave links. I'll update on the live stream. Make sure to join me there. Going live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
If you've been searching on YouTube for some news updates on UAPs, congratulations, you found it. The stuff that I've got for you today is going around the world looking at the most recent UAP videos and also some older footage which is relating to the current situations going on now. 2024 was an amazing year for UAP sightings. 2025 is going to be on another level. I know it is. I know it is. Okay, so make sure you subscribe because I'll be showing you all of the new updates, okay? If you do go back onto my other 2 videos regarding the LA fires, you'll see white orbs with like trails behind them. Now, if you saw one, you might be like, okay, that could be a crappy camera, low frames per second, a bug on the lens, anything, okay? But when you get 2 videos, 3 videos, 4 videos, 5 videos, and then it keeps on happening, well, you've got to ask some questions, okay? Nicola3 over on X. It says the images that don't show you from the fires in California. See this here? You can see them here. The size of these things, and fair enough, that's a trail, but the size of these things, strange. And here's another one. Now you can't argue. This isn't right. This isn't another plane. This isn't another helicopter. Watch closely. What is that? What is that? Man, something's going on in LA, mate, apart from the obvious. I mean, is it a lens flare? Is it? It just looks so crisp. It's like an what they call a dumbbell UFO, right? That is so peculiar. Now, this one I'm a little bit unsure of. I think it's because the lights aren't like symmetrical. They just seem a bit dotted about. So it could be lights on a hill or something like that. Check out for yourself. In California, these here. Oh, are they symmetrical? I think. Are they? I don't know it. I genuinely don't know what to make of this. Is it some weird lighting on top of a hill, a mountain? But you can see something here, just here and just here. Are these like maybe the edges of the wings or something like that? I don't know what to make of that. A nice little intermission now between the locations. Look at this in the Philippines. This is sent over from from Shorty, from a channel on X called Tangled Titty. We featured Tangled Titty a few times. Close up of a neon green UAP in the Philippines. Now you can see up here a type of mountain, or it's a very faint shadow, okay, of trees, it looks like. It's very strange, but what's also strange is that somebody in the comments said they saw the same thing. Rich Baxter, I saw the same thing in Leighton Buzzard, UK, a couple of months ago, and snapped this. There was definitely something going on. Look at this. He's seen the same sort of thing. I got an email from somebody called Paul. I don't want to say his surname because he doesn't want me to. But he sent me bits of information and footage about New Jersey. Now, I think we'd all agree that a lot of these drones and orbs were coming from the ocean, okay, coming in. There's a place called Ocean City, okay, and there's a hotel there, Ocean One Hotel Suite. This particular hotel, or maybe somewhere around that area, has got a webcam. Now, this webcam managed to find or capture this. Now, I had to look again. I had to keep on playing this. I was like, "What are you talking about, mate?" Because this is all new. Like, this is a new scene for me, right? Because there's lots of lights going on. I was like, "What are you looking at?" It's because it goes so quick. There is a blue orb that just flashes from here straight across. This is the image of the webcam. Okay. Here we go. Watch this. You have to be super, because it is only literally 2 or 3 frames. Here we go. I think we're starting to see it form here. It gets better, okay? Buckle up. Next frame. Bang. What? And this isn't a torch. You know, reflecting, because this isn't moving now, right? This looks like another one of these.
Definitely got that good din in there.
Look at this. I want to show you something now that I've seen over on Instagram, which I thought was pretty cool. Check this out. You see that?
Oh, yeah.
This changes direction. And then also this one I just thought was really quite fascinating. There's about 2 UAPs that go past a pilot wing, and then the camera just glitches. And we've seen so many times before where people talking about encounters with UAPs, UFOs, and their equipment goes a little bit haywire, their clocks stop going, the lights start flashing in the cars and stuff like that. Sounds really quite sort of Hollywood. But it seems like this happens. Check this out.
Okay, see how that happened? Boom, right away, the first one comes in. It's all broken up digital signal. Here you go. There's the first one. Watch, here you go. Boom, it's breaking up everything. Then the second one goes by. Come on, everybody. This is very slow-mo. Look at that.
Look at that.
Look at that ship.
Look at that, mate.
Folks, that is a starship. That is a Napoleon ship. They love the circular thing.
The other day I featured a new channel called Skyward Files. So he sent me another one that he wanted me to check out. It says UAP cockpit video. UAP seen in flight over Texas at dawn on March 26, 2022. Video begins zoomed in on primary target, zooms out to reveal constellation of UAPs. Primary UAP appears to be the same as a very similar LAX UAP shown in one of my other videos taken on the ground. Possible disc or saucer shape with other smaller orbs in formation. So why I'm showing you this is because I think that a lot of the times when people zoom in on these particular UAPs, it's from obviously the ground level, it's through clouds or through fog or anything like that, right? And, you know, you could say, oh, it's the lens doing a little bit of weird stuff, not focusing in properly. But when we're so high up now, you know, past the clouds, this person's zooming in on what, and also, not to mention, this is a pilot who sees lots of strange things. And if they're seeing strange things in the sky, they're going to record it, right? So clearly, they've gone, well, what is that? A pilot knows their skies. They've seen an anomaly up in the sky and decided to record it. So fair shout to this person. Look at this. So you've got, like, these are normal size stars. Okay? What is this? It's not Mars. But what's strange is how, like, what's going on with these orbs that when you zoom in on them, they just go blurry. What's all that about? Does it know when it's been recording? Is this some sort of cloaking mechanism? There is one particular UAP video that sticks in my mind, and ever since the first moment I saw it, and maybe it's because it was the beginning of my venture into the UAPs, I saw it, it was just magnificent. And I can't find the original anywhere. So I've managed to find the video of me reacting to it for the first time. Check this out, right? Look at this.
Una bola de candela en el aire, mira para eso tú.
Wait, it will zoom out in a minute. Look at that! Look at it! What are we actually seeing here? What are we seeing here, ladies and gentlemen? I don't know, Ben. Look at this! Isn't that amazing? But wait, that video was, I don't know, was it in Portugal or something like that? I don't know. But this video that I saw today, UFO over Pevensey, East Sussex, 29th of June, 2013. This was 11 years ago, guys. Okay? In the UK. I'm gonna sit back and let you just...
What are you talking about there?
They're balloons. We've got two extremely similar UAPs from either sides of the world. Okay, Portugal's not that far from the UK, but different countries at different times, looking exactly the same as each other, doing the same things. That's just weird, man. They're just drones. Forget about it. Look at this one. What in the disco inferno, mate? Australia and a lot of the world have been freaking out at the moment about a possible cloaked UAP. Me personally, I don't think it is. I think it's just a strange anomaly which is going on in the sky. But you can't deny this is really, really strange. Look at this. Look at that cloud. Cronulla Beach, I think that's how you pronounce it. An alien ship. A lot of people are actually saying this could be a alien mothership in a cloud. I think that's a little bit far-fetched. Until you hear what I'm going to show you in a second. This video gets a lot more strange. First of all, we've got a strange bubble of a humongous cloud, which I've never seen before, right? Cronulla Beach in Australia. So they're looking out over here, okay? Now, apparently, 9 beaches have just been closed down.
9 beaches have been closed in Sydney after small mysterious balls washed up on shore. The Northern Beaches Council says it is working to remove the debris and determine what they're made of. Last October, several beaches were closed after thousands of pieces of black spherical debris appeared on the sand. They were deemed to be lumps of fat from human-made waste.
So lumps of fat from human-made waste was last year. Black spherical, what did he say?
Northern Beaches Council says it is working to remove the debris and determine what they're made of. Last October, several beaches were closed after thousands of pieces of black spherical debris.
Black spherical debris. Human waste last year, whether that's the same sort of thing. But 9 in Sydney on the 14th of January. This is Sydney. 9 beaches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like, what was that cloud? Has it got anything to do with that cloud? What was it washing up or spraying out? What was in that cloud? That's really, really strange. Okay. Okay, so we've got Sussex UK airport support helicopter team spots strange Tic Tac UAP at night. Okay, this is on the channel Interstellar Discussion over on TikTok. Look at this bad boy, right?
We've got some wild footage coming out of Sussex around my hometown of a strange cylindrical tic-tac shaped UFO object. A Sussex air support team was doing routine checks. I think it was to do with pursuing criminals, and they spotted this strange thing suspended in the sky for a long period of time. And as you can see here, it's on IR footage, which stands for infrared, and it's glowing, which basically represents whatever this suspended object is emitting some sort of heat. And there's a different view here as well that you can see.
Look.
Very strange indeed. It's basically shot between nighttime. It was a nighttime experience, so whatever this was in the sky, they didn't quite understand what was going on. I mean, I don't know. Look at this thing, man. Very strange. I mean, these things have popped up all over NASA live feeds. Governments from around the world, especially the US as well, and the Pentagon, have tracked these weird, strange objects that kind of appear and then vanish instantaneously. Fighter pilots have recorded them, and no one really understands what these are. I mean, UFO doesn't always mean alien. It could be something completely just strange that we don't understand. But who knows? I think it's crazy footage, and it's quite compelling in a certain aspect because it's not moving, it's suspended and chilling beans. I don't know. Whatever it is hanging out. You guys let me know. I think it's interesting.
And then I've got a funny feeling it's either fake or Project Bluebeam or actually UAP. It's one of the three. Let's look at this.
Yo, it's like that thing they showed on.
Oh, whoa. What is that?
It's like that Tic Tac from Rogan, bro.
What was that?
The thing that, like the UFO thing, like flying over us.
I mean, this looks like a UFO.
No, but it's like yeah, I guess.
So that's either a light coming from the ground up, like messing with people, or it's Project Bluebeam.
Yo, it's like that thing they showed on.
Oh, whoa. What is that?
Or it's a UAP.
What was that?
What do you think? So, some really strange things going on in the skies around the world. Let me know what you think. And also, please...
Kofi, follow me.